think first and foremost, it's absolutely unacceptable. I think as a league, as a whole.
Can you pause it here? She starts out by saying, first and foremost, I want to address what's going on with AT. Now, let me explain something to you. There isn't a serious coach in any
Hold on, because this reaction deserves your full attention. A well-known veteran Indiana reporter just went public, and he didn't hold back, calling Stephanie White a genuine threat to Caitlin Clark's entire career.
A player on another team intentionally, and you can say whatever you want, but it was intentional, trying to injure one of their own player, much less the star player. Now, before I get into the whole Caitlin Clark part of it, you got to understand where this woman, Stephanie White, is. She's a lesbian. She's, quote, married.
I want you to hear this again, because the exact words matter here. He didn't just say she was a shaky pick. He didn't just call her a controversial choice. No, he came right out and used the word threat to describe what she means for the biggest star this sport has ever seen.
The fever. Obviously, everybody with half a brain would understand that you shouldn't go online, make racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynist comments. Fine. But that's not what this is about. And you can get to that later without going first and foremost. Yeah, everybody understands that. Hell, I get death threats damn near every day. I got somebody wanting to get their damn feet hot every damn day. So what? So what? All that is a woman, Alyssa Thomas, not taking any accountability.
Now, before anyone tries to wave this away, you need to know who's talking here. This is not some anonymous guy in his basement shouting hot takes into a microphone for clicks. We're talking about Dan Ditch.
Woman walking back into the locker room. If, again, and I always preface everything with, if this is a real league. Go ahead.
It's not acceptable. Yes, we have to continue to protect our players. We've got to continue to support our players and our.
Bro, Dan Dockage, not even a month ago, 2 weeks ago, he was defending Stephanie White blow for blow. Blow for blow. To see this, him switch up his take like this.
Here's someone who spent decades living and breathing Indiana basketball, watching every twist and turn. And here's the bigger part. This is a guy who stepped up to defend this league when everyone else was ready to rip it apart.
Play a basketball game. And AT was exactly right. Like, we get to play a basketball game. And yes, that's going to come with criticism. Yes, that's going to come with.
Hang on there. AT is exactly right. We get to play a basketball game. But what Stephanie White should say, but she's so stupid, is she should say that was not a basketball play. That was a play that could have seriously injured our star player. She should have had more than a 1-game suspension. Instead of making Alyssa Thomas out to be a freaking martyr. But again, lesbian woman, married to an African American, she can't put her personal life aside and do what an actual coach would do, not just somebody standing up in front of us as the face of LGTB ABCD. Listen to the rest of this.
So, here's the twist. This same guy had actually been defending Stephanie White all along, right up until now. Which makes you wonder what really happened. What could push a careful, measured reporter, someone who's always had the league's back, to suddenly explode on air like this?
And teams, that is going to come. But it's not hard to not be a jerk. And if you are one of these people that are online doing this, do not call yourself a WNBA fan. Our league is about inclusiveness. Our league is about competition. Our league is about elevating women, elevating marginalized communities, including and being inclusive of.
Hang on. So that's what I'm saying. Our league competition is kind of in the middle of it. That's what your league is about. Your league is about elevating marginalized communities. So you've said exactly what I have said. This league is run for and by lesbians, angry African-American lesbians. If you want to go to a marginalized community, there's your number one.
Picture this moment first, because it's the spark that lit everything on fire. A clip starts playing, and in it, you hear someone casually ask if she's even married. That's it. That's the moment that kicked off this entire storm. Because right before that clip, we saw something brutal. Alyssa Thomas throwing a vicious, completely unnecessary shot at Caitlin Clark's throat. Live in front of everyone, sending the entire basketball world into a frenzy. And what did the league do about it? A ONIM suspension. That's the whole punishment. But here's the part that really makes your jaw drop. Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever, the one person whose entire job is supposed to be protecting her franchise player, didn't rush to defend Clark. Instead, her very first move was standing up in public to defend the player who had just physically hurt her own star. Stop and really sit with that for a second. Your best player, the face of your entire franchise, gets hit with something everyone agrees has nothing to do with basketball. And your response as the leader is to walk to the podium and start talking about inclusivity and online negativity. That's not just strange, that's stunning. Now, here's where things get uncomfortable because the reporter breaking this down. A well-known Indiana basketball voice brought up something personal. He mentioned Stephanie White's relationship with Lisa Salters, the respected ESPN reporter. But before you assume the worst, understand this isn't about attacking anyone for who they love. That's not the point at all. The real question being asked is about leadership and fairness. When you're coaching the single biggest star women's basketball has ever seen, can you really let personal relationships and loyalties cloud your judgment? Because based on how this whole thing played out, it sure looks like that's exactly what happened. Think about the bigger picture here. On one side, you have Alyssa Thomas, a prominent figure within the league's community. On the other, Stephanie White, married to a well-known figure in mainstream sports media. Those overlapping worlds are hard to ignore. So, when White steps up to the microphone and her first instinct is to defend Thomas while pivoting straight into a lecture about inclusivity, you have to wonder what message that sends. What does it tell her own locker room? And more importantly, what does it tell Caitlin Clark, the rookie who just took a hit to the throat on national television? The reporter isn't wrong when he says no serious coach in any serious league would ever handle a moment like this the way she did. Now, flip the script for a second. Imagine if this happened in the NBA. Imagine LeBron James takes a dirty, obviously intentional foul and his own coach's first public comment is defending the guy who hit him while complaining about internet trolls. That story doesn't just make headlines. It becomes the only story in sports for a week. That coach is unemployed by morning. But somehow in the WNBA, a moment exactly like this gets treated like just another Tuesday. And then comes the quote that really set everything off. Stephanie White actually said on record that the league is about lifting up marginalized communities first and competition second. Read that again. Not building the best basketball product, not protecting star players, not chasing championships, lifting up communities first. That's when the reporter finally said out loud what a lot of fans have quietly been thinking for years. That this league sometimes feels less like a competitive sports organization and more like a platform pushing a specific message. Now, you can debate his tone all day long, but the actual question underneath it, that one's fair. When a head coach openly puts social messaging ahead of defending her own player after a violent on-court incident, what else are people supposed to think about where her priorities actually sit? And when you casually say community and competition in the same breath, you're telling everyone which one really comes first for you. Spoiler, it's not basketball. Here's the simplest rule in any workplace, especially professional sports. Your personal life should never dictate how you do your job. Doesn't matter what's happening off the court. Doesn't matter what your relationships are. It doesn't matter which community you belong to outside of work. When you're the head coach for the most important player this sport has ever produced and she gets attacked on the floor, your job is simple. Defend her. Demand accountability. Send a clear message that this will not be tolerated. Stephanie White had that defining moment. And she completely missed it. And this isn't some one-time slip either. This same league completely snubbed Clark during All-Star voting despite her single-handedly pulling in record-breaking numbers of viewers. Official league accounts have repeatedly downplayed her achievements while pushing attention toward other veteran players instead. It's a pattern treating their biggest draw, their ticket to real mainstream growth, like a problem to be managed instead of a star to be celebrated. And let's talk about the death threats excuse because it's wearing thin fast. Yes, public figures get threats. That's a horrible reality of fame today, but you don't get to use that as a shield to dodge accountability for your own actions. Alyssa Thomas didn't start getting backlash out of nowhere. She got it because she threw a violent non-basketball hit at the most popular player in the league on live television. That's not randomness, that's cause and effect. Now watch how Stephanie White tries to spin this whole narrative. She stands at the podium and claims outsiders are using the league to push their own toxic agendas. But ask yourself, who's actually being divisive here? Is it the millions of fans furious that their favorite player got hurt and the punishment was a joke? Or is it the coach using a violent incident as a stage to lecture people while hinting that anyone upset is secretly prejudiced instead of just admitting what the video clearly shows? This right here is the real problem killing the league's credibility. They want massive ratings. They want the sponsorships. They want the media spotlight that comes with having a true generational superstar. But at the same time, they want total control over the narrative, and they shut down any criticism by calling it hate. You simply cannot have both. And here's what makes this moment so significant. The reporter calling this out isn't some random internet voice. He's a respected figure who has covered Indiana basketball for decades. He is not a troll looking for clicks. And just 2 weeks before this, he was actually defending Stephanie White on air. Now he's calling her out by name and openly questioning whether league leadership even cares about the actual sport anymore. That's not a small shift. That's a massive warning sign. Because when you start losing people who genuinely wanted this league to succeed, you know something has gone seriously wrong. Through all of this, remember Caitlin Clark never asked for any part of this drama. She just wants to play basketball. Instead, she's become the unwilling center of every cultural fight this league has been quietly having for years. It's obvious the league's old guard resents her overwhelming popularity. They resent that a player from a small-town college background became the one to finally break through to mainstream America. And they seem to resent that millions of her new fans don't care about the league's messaging. They just want to watch great basketball. So instead of embracing that opportunity and building around their biggest star, the people in charge keep finding new ways to work against her. And this is what makes the whole situation even worse for White personally. When she stood at that podium and said her first priority was addressing what happened with it, that wasn't a slip of the tongue, that was a decision. In that moment, she chose to paint Alyssa Thomas as the victim of the story. While brushing aside the rookie who actually took the hit, she framed the entire controversy as being about online negativity, ignoring that it started with a violent play that deserved a much harsher punishment. At the end of the day, she chose her personal alliances over her professional duty to protect her team. And that tells you everything about where her priorities really are. Here's the truth about leadership at the highest level. Players notice everything. Every press conference, every interview, every decision about who gets defended and who gets thrown under the bus. And what did Clark learn from watching that press conference? That her own coach won't stand up for her when it matters most. Think about the damage that does to trust between a player and her coach. Clark is only 22, playing through her first season in a league where established veterans have made their resentment toward her painfully clear. In an environment like that, she needs a coach who will fight for her, not one who uses attacks against her as an opportunity to lecture fans. It's honestly hard not to compare this to former coach Christy Sides. People questioned her coaching decisions plenty, but one thing she always did was defend her players no matter what. She never used press conferences as a political platform. She just showed up and coached basketball. And looking back, that simple approach looks a lot better than what we're seeing now. And that's exactly why the reporter's mention of White's own basketball background stings so much. She was Indiana's Miss Basketball, a Purdue legend, a national champion. She, more than almost anyone, should understand the pressure that comes with being the face of a team. She lived it. And yet, in the exact moment Clark needed someone who understood that pressure to step up for her, White failed to deliver. That line about inclusiveness really doesn't hold up well here. Inclusive for who? Exactly. Not for the 22-year-old franchise player who got hurt on the court. Not for the millions of new fans who are constantly told they don't count as real fans just because they came for basketball. And definitely not for anyone who simply believes a professional sports league should focus on the sport itself. What Stephanie White is really saying, whether she means to or not, is that this league feels like a space built primarily for one specific group and everyone else should just stay quiet. And that's exactly why Caitlin Clark's massive popularity feels so threatening to that old system. She's bringing in fans who don't care about messaging. They care about greatness. They want to watch elite basketball, plain and simple. And that terrifies people who built their whole identity around something other than the game itself. Because if basketball becomes the real draw, their grip on the narrative disappears completely. So here's the real question you need to ask yourself. If the people running this league can't even protect their biggest star, what does that say about where this is all heading? Drop your take in the comments. Do you think this was really about leadership or something deeper? And if this story kept you hooked till the very end, that's exactly the kind of reaction this situation deserves. Stay tuned because this drama is far from over.